Hello, beauties. Welcome to Moms Unboxed, a podcast where I unbox with you the how-tos, tips, and tricks to empower women to upgrade relationships, intimacy, and parenting. I'm your host, Melanie Caroline, a multi-dimensional woman, life coach, lover, and mom who's made a lot of fucking mistakes. If you want to live a sensual and liberated life, you've come to the right space. Don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed because you don't want to miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Moms Unboxed. How you mamas doing? How you mamas doing today? It is another week, and I'm so excited to be unboxing with you. I have a special guest with me today. Their name is Julius, and they are from the Kinky Campfire Podcast. I am so excited, Julius, you're here. Please say hello to all the beautiful ladies.
Hello, moms. This is Julius.
Julius is a friend of mine. We met at PodFest this year in Florida. It was amazing. And we were just talking about how it was a little overwhelming because we're both introverts, but we also like being social and being the observer. So I'm so excited to connect with you today, Julius. Starting off, I know there's some moms out there who are not open with their sexuality, or there's something they're hiding because they feel guilt and shame around being a mom and being a bisexual. It took me a long time to really embrace my identity as a bisexual woman. And I just want to give you a little bit of my story here, and Julius is going to tell you theirs as well. Now, I knew I was a bisexual female from a very young age. My first sexual experience was actually with another girl, and this was like a deep secret of mine. And I decided when I was around 14, 15 that I would tell my stepmom in confidence. At least I thought it was going to be in confidence. You know, teenagers, they like to listen behind the door to the parents speaking. Well, that was when I first realized that my stepmom actually shared my story of being bisexual. And it was so taboo because I grew up in a very religious home, very Christian. My grandfather was a pastor, and it was never talked about. It was like this secret that no one wanted to discuss or admit to themselves. I was so hidden away and never talked about my sexuality. Sex was a major thing. My dad ended up punishing me when he found out I had sex with a long-term boyfriend, and that was traumatizing as well. So I have all these experiences around my sexuality and my lifestyle, and I was seeking community. So about 17 years old, when I was able to drive, I drove to downtown Olympia and wanted to be a part of it was back then LGBT community. And I was shunned for being a bisexual. Like, if you weren't gay or straight, there is no place for you. There is no place for women who enjoyed both male and female. And so then I just felt like I didn't belong anywhere. I just lived my life. I did not live my authentic, fullest expression. And I hid away. And now, at the age of, hell, almost 36 in September, I'm finally embracing my identity. I'm not shying away from it. I'm understanding who I am at my core. And I'm not making sacrifices in my current partnership like I have previously. So, Julius, tell us about your experience, your journey with your gender, and just give it to us. Tell us about you and figuring out your identity.
Okay, so I had to say, ma'am, that you and me both have a similar background because I too was raised in a religious household, somewhat sheltered a little bit from a lot of the different things. Also, I have to add that military background, so very much on the conservative side of all the different things. Oh, goodness. And then also being an Asian and Black, so it had all that stuff mixed in there. So a lot of things were not like afforded to me, I guess, in that sense. as far as all the different LGBT. Yeah, back then I didn't even know about that. The alphabet community, as I say now, the queer community. I didn't know anything about that growing up. I had to experience that going to college was probably my first experience with somebody that was um, gay. And then, and you know what? I had to come to Florida. I actually was in the Disney World has a college program, and that was the first time I met somebody, a coworker that was gay, um, completely out, told everybody in the program, so everybody in the program knew about it, and hanging out and actually having a friend that was gay. So that was my first experience. I was like, oh, you can do that, and I'll probably say this a lot too, is that I was being allowed to be kinky, being allowed to be part of the BDSM community, the queer community. That's always what I felt. And it took me until started a new podcast that I was like, oh, a lot of people feel this way, the being allowed to be part of these different lifestyles. I didn't know it was for me. And basically, to answer your question about the gender fluid and representation, I'm still trying to figure it out now in the process.
Yeah, it is a process. It's definitely an inner self-discovery journey, and we have to do that with love and compassion, because I know so many individuals who feel so much shame and guilt around what they like, their desires. And I'm even experiencing that a little, where I'm starting to dabble into BDSM and getting my Tantra certification, and realizing that monogamous is not for me. And I was previously polyamory in my marriage, and I attracted a very toxic person who, through that experience, among a million other things within my marriage, and it broke down. I ended up getting a divorce, but not because I was polyamorous. And a lot of people want to assume, oh, you're polyamorous and you divorced your husband, it must mean because you're polyamorous. And it's like, that's such a fallacy. That is so false. And because of that experience, now I'm like, I had this kind of treading water. Do I want to be polyamorous again, or do I just want to be ethical non-monogamous, or do I fit the criteria for monogamous? No, but having to admit that to myself without shame, without guilt, has been challenging for me.
Ooh, I want to talk about all that because, as a big proponent of polyamory and quote unquote doing it the correct way without assumptions, is a big thing of my podcast around the Kinky Campfire. The whole thing started because we wanted to be able to have conversations about taboo topics like you would around a campfire without the judgment, and being able to ask the questions and not being shamed because you asked the question. I don't know about in your community, but in like Central Florida, half the people are kind of a little bit judgy when it comes to the queer topics. And it's like, can we ask questions about gender identification, and can we ask what your pronouns are? And half the people are kind of judgy about it and shame you for not knowing, and the other half are like, okay, we'll sit down and answer your questions for you. So I wanted to remove that judgment for all the different lifestyles and be able to ask these questions in like a very campfire kind of way. Just ask it and don't get judged about it.
I love your mission. I really do. I'm very grateful that during Podfest we were eyeing each other and we were like, "Hey, I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you." Because here on Mom's Unboxed, I really empower women to be liberated and sensual and live unboxed lives. And part of that is talking about your sexuality. And I believe that people who shame other people for their sexuality, their lifestyle, is stem from ignorance. They don't understand it and they don't want to understand it. And so that's when the shaming comes out and the judgment comes out towards queer communities.
Yes, preach. You got that background's coming in handy because yes, preach it all. What is, I don't understand the shaminess of it. And even going back to the bisexual thing, we can go back there if that's cool, because a lot of that still happens now. I don't know about where you're at. The community here is very much the kink community is very queer, so you get all kinds of stuff. But there's not a whole lot of like gay and lesbian people that I noticed for the last 10 years that I've been in Central Florida. That there's not a lot of gay and lesbian folks in the communities I go into. A lot of it is swinger, and a lot of it is the kink BDSM community, which is very strange to me. But the friends that I do have that are gay or lesbian, they still kind of do that whole judgy thing when it comes to somebody they're talking to, and they've had like somebody of the opposite sex in their past. So it's still kind of prevalent now. And it's very confusing to me why that is.
Yeah, it is very interesting. And, here in Seattle, I'm just starting to discover different clubs and different communities that I can be a part of. But I will have to say, I have not explored it fully yet. Perhaps because I'm still accepting who I am and I need to be very concrete and solid in who I am so that when that judgment comes, which I'm sure it's going to, even putting out this podcast episode, I might get some DMs, you know, but I'm here for it and I'm here to discover more about the community, about the people. And I'll tell you a story. I went to Pride Parade 2, 3 years ago. It was my first one and I cried because I was like, oh my God, I feel like I belong. I feel like I'm with my people and in the community that I'm meant to be in. And it was such a liberating experience for me that I was like, this is what I've been missing for so long, to be around people who are like minded, who understand. So, although there might be those individuals who still shame, who still judge, especially towards gender fluid individuals or bisexuals, I there are more people who are going to celebrate you and support you in that than there are people that are going to shame you. And those people that shame and judge you, that are not meant for you. They're not your people. And so, mamas, if you're out there and you really want to understand yourself more, your sexuality, I encourage you to really explore that side of you and not hold back being who you truly are because of the fear of shame and guilt or how you might feel as a mom, because those things have no say over whether or not you're a good mom. And the more you can be authentic to yourself, the more liberated you will feel. What do you think about that, Julius?
Yes, I completely agree. And unfortunately, it's just a product of society. People make snap judgments without getting all the facts. And you're still going to be judged at some point. As somebody that presents as male and POC in most communities, still being judged, even though I'm a part of the community, but I don't always present that way. People look at me and just kind of make the judgment. It was actually pretty funny when I first got into the kink community. I was going to a munch, which is like the preamble before you get invited to like a house party or even like a dungeon or something like that. And I was wearing a graphic t-shirt and some khaki shorts, and I was walking up into the event. The host that was taking the money for the event kind of looked at me. He's like, "Do you know where you're supposed to be?" Because I'm looking around and people walking past me were of course dressed in black, the typical kink garb, black leather, and I'm like wearing a bright shirt that was not even a dark shirt. I think it was like a gray shirt and white and blue and plaid khaki shorts. And they were asking me, "Is this where I was supposed to be?" And I was like, "This is the function, right?" And it was like, "Yep." And it's like, "Okay." But once I got in there, they were very accepting. But it still happens, especially with like single males, just because there's so many of them that go to these functions. But you're always going to feel judgment at some point. But once they get to know you, it kind of lowers a little bit. But there's no avoiding it. Unfortunately, moms, I got to tell you, that's all there is to it. You just got to go, and eventually it'll happen. And I've noticed that at vanilla functions too. Like people do the same thing. It's always weird how the judgment happens in all these different places, but then once you get there and start it could be a couple months. Eventually, they accept you, and it's the whole entire spectrum. It's very odd that there's such a difference between all the different lifestyles, but they're all the same in the same thing. That people accept you eventually. You just have to keep going.
Yeah, I agree with you. And tell the people, what's a vanilla function?
Okay, so I do improv on the side, and it's just very funny as an older person. I'll just say that going to new places and learning new hobbies and stuff like that is I don't even know, is like I feel comfortable there, but it's like, oh, this is that old feeling because 10 years ago when I went into the kinky space, it's the same kind of quote unquote judgment that I got. And then eventually it's like 6 months in, everybody's like, oh, everybody's just kind of cool. Like people hug and everything. And it's like a flip of the switch. It's like, you've been here long enough. You passed your probation period. So now we accept you. And it was the same thing in the kink. It's the same thing in the poly, the non-monogamy, the swingers. And then I go and do improv, or I just go to like a social event like downtown or something, and it's the same way. It's like people will look at you, but if you're there for like a couple months consistently, then all of a sudden they accept you and you're getting hugs from everybody. And it's like vanilla, kinky, all that stuff all together. And I keep trying to like tell people this, you have to go. And people would be like, well, do I have to do this? No, you just go.
That's
I,
funny. But I mean, it's true. And it's almost like any other function, right? You have to build rapport and you have to build trust. And once those things are established and you've built that foundation, it's like, hell yeah, you're welcomed in. Let's go.
yeah, it's interesting to see that there's so much divisiveness between everybody, but then I go because I'm one of those weird, like almost an ambivert, but mostly introvert, because I'll go to the place, I just won't talk to anybody. So I just observe. And it's like this is the same feeling. It's like, oh, I gotta do the probationary period again, 3 to 6 months, and then eventually they just kind of accept you.
That's funny. Now, tell us about your dating experience. You've mentioned to me before you moms are attracted to Julius. Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
I don't know what it is. It's you know, the most compliment I get throughout my life is probably because of the military brat background, is that I always look like a cop or like in the military. It's like very interesting. So maybe that's the vibe I give off, and people just kind of attracted to that. But here's the bread and butter. I don't even know what the saying is. I have been dating moms since before all the gender exploration, the kink exploration, the non-monogamous exploration. And it's been pretty steady ever since then. I'll say I have 4 partners now, and half of them are moms. So there's a 50-50 right there. And it was very interesting because it took me quite a while to actually date somebody that didn't have kids, that it was just shocking. It's like, oh, you don't have kids? I just kind of assumed at that point that anybody that's older than 30 had kids, as far as my experience. So that was very interesting to see. But I just noticed that whether you're a mom or not, most people are accepting. And it could be where I'm looking, because I do mostly find partners off of kinky Facebook. It's called FetLife, because I'll just say because it's out there. I actually find partners there, so it's kind of a subjective experience because they're already open to the kink, and then half of them are moms and half of them are not. Uh, so yeah, there's that.
Or partners. I had two partners, my husband and another partner, and then my three kids, and I was bouncing between two houses, two partners, and it just became a little too much for me. So tell us, how do you establish boundaries in your relationship with your partners?
Ooh, that's a great question. Okay, do we want to start in the beginning where I was making mistakes and then how I kind of evolved from there?
Oh hell yeah, I'm about it.
Okay. So I had the horrible, horrible thing. This is why I'm a big fan of breaking down assumptions, because when I first got into polyamory, I made an assumption that all partners needed to eventually be, at that point, girlfriends, because I hadn't done the queer exploration as of yet. There's so many different parts here. But I assumed that everybody needed to be a girlfriend and it needed to be serious. And I needed to see every partner, no matter how many I had 5 at one point, just for a frame of reference, that I need to see everybody at least once or twice a week. What was fair time with everybody, fair emotions, everything. And it kind of didn't work out that way because people have different schedules. So, for example, if you are a mother, typically you share custody with your kids. And at that point, I did not realize that, one, some fathers, I just had to say in my personal experience, are not always in the picture. So sometimes some people have 100% custody with their kids, and some people have it half the week, half not the week, or every other week. So there's so many different things. And then also I had talked to a partner, and she had custody during the week, but then off on the weekends, and then they would like flip. So the custody thing, I know from outside experience, like all the different or most of the different how that all works out from an outside perspective. So this is where my experience comes in because I myself don't have any kids, but I've dated all different kinds of different situations as far as that's concerned. What was the question? I started going. I started
No,
exact.
it's good. It's good. I love this perspective you bring on being a individual without kids but then dating moms, and the original question was, how do you establish boundaries and share your time with multiple different partners, especially when you're dating moms? And you wanted to start at the beginning and tell us a little bit of knowledge of what you've learned throughout your time and experiences to where you are now.
Yes, that's it. Oh yeah, simple answer. I fucked up. I fucked
No,
up.
I love hearing your storytelling. Let's go, bring it.
So yeah, at the beginning, I made the assumption that every mom wanted to have another parent, and not all moms want that. Some of their fathers are in the picture still, so they don't even one don't need a role model or anybody to meet their kids, or two, it's like sometimes you end up having to be a role model or another parent if that's what you want to do, and yeah, I fucked up a lot because I made that assumption, and it's like, oh no, wait, this is an individual and maybe I should ask the question first. Let me make it very clear that we can negotiate something. And then I kind of skewed the other way and it was like, oh yeah, we everything's open. I don't care whatever you want to do, I'll do it. But then I had to like work on my boundaries and be like, hey, I'm cool with this, which is I can meet your kids, but I don't need to. The need is not there. And that I found so far is very beneficial for me in the relations I have and the ones that I have currently. Because one of my partners, I didn't meet her son, and it was like cool. We met, we were cool, and like kids like me, animals like me, so I have no problem with that. But yeah, I had to. I'm still calibrating, and it's always hard to remember. The hardest part is that each person is an individual, and you don't know what the situation is when you're going into it. So first of all, get all the facts, and then have your boundaries set. So for me right now, currently, is I have no problem meeting kids, but I don't need to.
Yeah, no, I think you make a really good point about not making assumptions. I actually just did an episode of reasons your relationship might be headed for a breakup, and one of those is lack of communication. We always want to make assumptions based on what our perception is and what we see, when reality is we can't assume what another person wants. We need to ask them what they want. And a lot of relationships break down because we're not discussing our values, our boundaries, our wants, needs, and desires within the relationship. So, starting that conversation off pretty early in a relationship, and while you're kind of negotiating the ins and outs, is so important. Now, how is it you are balancing your time in your relationships? Like, do you find that you kind of groove around the needs of your partner, or do you stick with your needs first and then kind of fit your partner's needs in afterwards?
Okay, yeah, another great question. Because I have trouble with balancing my needs with my partner's needs. So the real complicated answer is it depends on the person. I'm also a big relationship anarchist. I'm 100% each relationship is independent of each other. And I have to tell partners that are new to non-monogamy this as well. It's like, yes, I have other partners, and yes, I can go fuck other partners. Yes, that's a whole nother thing. But our relationship is for us. We don't need to worry about everybody else. There is the whole logistics thing because there are only 7 days of the week, unfortunately. It really sucks. That's the only thing that's finite is time. It's like you'll never have enough time. And I also, I mentioned the improv. I do that like 2 to 3 times a week too. I take classes and I meet partners after classes or late at night. Fortunately for me, I will say that communication is my main goal, and I've gotten a lot better. I'm just going to pat myself on the back because I prefer to see each partner at least once a week, but that does not happen. Just like I have one partner I haven't seen her in like a month because of schedule and all those kinds of things, but we still check in every few days. So I would suggest for anybody is figure out what your communication needs are, like how often you need to talk, how you need to talk. Some people are phone talkers, some people are texters. I get fortunate enough that I find partners that are busy as well, so they're cooler with texting. Some would like a video chat or a phone call, but it's just, however time works out. That was a big thing for me, is learning communication styles, even going all the way down to chatting on text versus talking, and how often. For me, it's like after 3 days is my, like, every at least up to 3 days I need some kind of text or something, just so I know that you're still there. And I say that concretely, but it's still flexible because it depends on what kind of conversation it is. I also skew on the A spectrum, so I'm not sexually motivated. So good communication is critical for me. We need to have good communication. Now that differs depending on who I'm talking to. That'd be my number one suggestion, is figure out your communication style very minutely. The minutia is amazing, because they say, like the smart people, I'll say the therapists and the doctors, that it's the little things that lead to a breakup. And those little things, just like the assumption of like, oh, I don't need to talk to them because I have that kind of communication style, and you just made an assumption. It's like when I'm negotiating with a partner and we're first started talking, I talk about this specifically. I'm a big fan of negotiating, and you can negotiate all the time for everything. I'm a big fan of negotiating for every little thing, even going down to like, are we going Dutch when we go out to dinner? Are we taking turns? All that kind of stuff. So I'm a huge fan. I know you've mentioned that before too with boundaries. Is I was actually talking to you through my phone while I was listening. I was like, negotiate it all, negotiate everything.
No, I 100% agree. Like, and I love what you said about understanding the communication styles. About, does this person like to text? Do they like a video call? Do they just like to chat on the phone? And like, I don't think we think about that enough when we're in relationships. I really like getting like the good morning text, or how you doing, or hey, I'm just thinking about you. That shit's meaningful to me. And I especially like letters. And that's another form of communication I don't think a lot of people think about anymore, just because technology is so readily available that people don't want to put pen to paper anymore. But someone writing me a note or a letter fucking touches my heart, through my soul, everything. I love, love, love letters. I really like and appreciate what you said about, hey, how does this partner enjoy communicating with you? And how often can they communicate with you? Would they like that, hey, I'm just checking on you, or hey, good morning, hope we have a good day type of text message, or they say call me at the end of the day so we can have a good conversation. So that is something important to think about, especially when you're dating and you're not living with your partner, because when you're living with your partner, it's readily available. I had my marriage, I it was very silent. Like, my husband and I, we wouldn't talk all day long. And then I got with my partner, and he and I talk 4 hours on the phone because he drives for a living. I didn't realize how lonely I was in my marriage until I got together with my partner, and I was like, holy shit, I like to talk.
Yeah, see, that kind of stuff is something definitely. Oh, especially the letter part. Oh my gosh, I've never heard that before. I don't know if it was a TV show or something, but the partner would make lunches for the other one to take to work, and then they would put like a secret note like, hey, you're doing awesome. And that was enough for another partner. So you always have those little quirks. I don't want to say weird because everybody's different, but it's like having those little notes, the good morning, that is definitely one thing I put in there, because on the website that I use, FetLife, there's a kinks list on there. And one of the kinks is good morning and good evening texts. So they had that many people that it's important to them that actually put it on the list as far as somebody's kinks. So to me, when I saw that, I started saying like, hey, we need to have this communication. I'm the type of person that I'll just text somebody, like I'll have a conversation in my head and I'll just start in the middle of the conversation without a good morning or a good evening. And I have partners that the very next day they always want to say good morning, good evening. Now, it doesn't need to be every day, but I want to establish, hey, I'm still thinking about you. I'm having these conversations. You're just not part of it necessarily. But if I if I text you and it's like in the middle of a conversation, that means I'm thinking about you. So there's so many reasons for that I could get into. I want to get a little bit nerdy right here, but I'm trying to have like more of a conversation. But there's like little things that I learned that I thought was normal, but other people don't do. And that's definitely one of those things. So I have to make it a point like, hey, let me say, I'm thinking about you. I'm having a weird conversation that you're not a part of. And that right there helps in different situations. But I have to have that conversation with partners. Hey, I'm not going to text you every day. Not necessarily because one, I'm busy, and two, I'm still thinking about you though.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I'm sure your partners appreciate, though, all your communication and all your negotiating because that takes a lot of time, effort, and energy. And that in itself
And a lot of
is
fuck ups.
very touching. What's that?
And a lot of fuck ups.
Well, we all have to learn, right? I learned a lot from my marriage and my polyamorous relationship, more so where I'm like, I don't know that I identify necessarily as polyamory anymore, where I'm more on the spectrum of ethical, non monogamous, and swinger. So we all
Okay.
have to learn our lessons through our experiences.
See, I'm a fan of that whole entire process, and also like maybe a year from now that changes, and it can change. That's another thing that people don't realize. They want to put you in this little box, and as adults, it's called dialectics in psychology. You can have two opposite opinions, and they're both be right. So right now,
Mhm.
you could 100% be ethically non-monogamous or polyamorous. That whole entire, and it also depends on the partner. This is why I'm a huge fan of relationship anarchy, because you can totally be with a monogamous person, but you be polyamorous because it doesn't have to be fair. And there's another thing I learned too after I made my fuck ups is that not everybody has to have partners. I don't know. I don't want to say like fortunate. I don't know. It just so happened to work out that the partners I had when I had like 5 partners, a couple of them didn't have other partners. I was their only partner. And that's totally fine too, especially under the umbrella of relationship anarchy, because each relationship is independent. As an example, Melanie, you can 100% have one polyamorous relationship, one swinger relationship. That totally depends on the partner you have, and that should be discussed as well. That whole journey is 100% something. And I just know for me right now, I'm a big proponent of polyamory, but if I have like an open relationship, and actually one of my relationships now is mostly a dynamic, as a kink dynamic. But, I didn't plan it that way when I first started talking to her, but it just worked out that way. And I was not a fan when I first got into kink of dynamics, because it's very much into protocol. And then also feel free to interrupt me if I say any terms or anything that you need like a definition for, because I know I swing around all to the different lifestyles. I jump around a lot, if you haven't noticed.
I enjoy it. It's very insightful, but also, damn, it just sounds a little complicated sometimes. There's a lot of different intricacies of relationships and relationship anarchy that when you dive into this lifestyle, there's so much to learn and we have to approach it with curiosity. And when I'm hearing you say some of these certain terms, I'm like, dang, there's so much for me to still dive into, learn and explore. My partner and I like the term emotionally monogamous because we don't want to emotionally invest in someone more as like having romantic relationship. And I know sometimes that doesn't sit well with people. Some people need to have that emotion to be sexual, and for me, I do notice my partner, he can have sexual relations with someone and be their friend. Whereas me, I want to feel safe and secure. I want to get to know them a little bit more. And for me, there has to be a little bit of feelings involved for me to want to have sexual relations with someone. So it's just so fluid and so open. And there's no hard set rules on how you want to live your lifestyle.
Yeah, that is 100%. Because I'm over here. My ace self is like, what? How do you have? I don't know how people have sex without emotions. Because I'm 100% not being sexually motivated. I can have a partner where there's no sexual anything, but I need good conversation and some kind of emotional connection. But then I don't want to say prefer. I like to date people that are allosexual, because for me, when I have that emotional connection with a partner, I still don't initiate sex because as far as I'm concerned, like intimacy and cuddling is my main priority. But if they want to have sex, I'm 100%. It's like a switch for me. So I'll have sex with them as much as they want, but I won't initiate it. And even if I'm like horny, I still won't do it because my main motivation is intimacy. So it's always interesting for me to hear allosexual people talk about having sex. And especially since I've never had like a one night stand, friends with benefits is not something I understand. I get it, but I don't understand it. Or hookups, hookup culture, all that stuff. It's like I could not imagine meeting somebody for the first time and then wanting to have sex with them, which is interesting for me going into like the swingers community because I'm a fan of it. Like I'm very voyeuristic. I will watch all of it. But if somebody comes up and asks me like, "Hey, you want to fuck?" It's like, "No, I don't know your name. We need to have a conversation. I'll talk to you for like a couple hours. We can sit here and talk while everybody's fucking around us." But yeah, it's always interesting because I go into swinger spaces with like a partner or girlfriend or something, and women. It's usually women because it's very heteronormative here in Central Florida. But it's like they'll come up and ask me to fuck in front of my girlfriend, and it's like, huh? But I don't even know your name. What are we doing here? And it's like, no, 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 no. I'm good. I just want to watch. Let me just watch everything. So I'm always fascinated with it because people, especially in those spaces, will be like, "Hey, I just had sex in these 3 beds, and I'm going for 4 and 5 now." And it's like, okay, good for you. I don't understand.
That's hilarious because, I've never had a one night stand. I've never like gone home with someone from a bar or anything. I'm not really a partier, but I have been to a swingers club and had a quite phenomenal experience that night. But I can resonate with you a bit. It's like, I don't know. I think for me, if the mood is right, they're attractive, we're having a good conversation, they're making me laugh, then I might be able to get into it. But for someone like at a bar and they're just trying to hit me up and want to take me home, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I can get your number. You can take me out to lunch so I can get to know you a little bit. But my partner, he's an opportunist. So if there's a gal who's hitting him up and the chemistry's right and all that, oh, yeah, he's down to fuck. And I don't know. I think that's why we have to negotiate our relationship quite a bit because I'm going to have some emotional connection with the person to some extent. And he doesn't. We're still exploring it. We're definitely still exploring what this relationship means for us. But I know, like you said, things can change as far as, we're EM now, might not be polyamory. We might be polyamory years from now, but inside my heart right now, I'm like, no, I don't want to share my heart. I personally want to love him and him love me. And perhaps that's based on past experiences, but that's just kind of where I'm sitting right now. I want to have fun with him and have these experiences and enjoy meeting people and building friendships. But do I want to find someone to fall in love again like that? No, it's not really for me. So it's interesting. The whole thing is very interesting.
I'm 100% here for your whole journey. I'm working. You were talking about the tantric certification, and it's like yes, that because that's on my flow. As soon as I can, I'm going to try to get my relationship coaching certifications based out of kink dynamics and queer relationships, and also non-monogamy. So I'm 100% here as your non-monogamous sounding board coach, whatever you want to call it, because I love these conversations, and for me the whole non-monogamous in like dating, the whole dating world myself is I love having these conversations with people and then hearing about their past experiences and then talking with them through their journey. And another like fortunate thing for me is I meet a lot of partners that are new to kink and or non-monogamy. So having those conversations with them is great. And it's like, this is really boring. They're like, are you entertained by that? It's not you entertained. It's like, do you like me with these? It's like, yes, it shouldn't be fun at first for me. I understand, oh, let's just have fun and not talk about this stuff. But I like a nice, boring conversation. Let's talk about a past experience and what happened, and let's break it down now. And let's specifically have all these conversations with the terms and everything. And it's nothing better than when I have a conversation with a partner. It's like, I don't know what that means. Let me research that. I'll get back to you. It's like, okay, now I want to fuck.
Yeah, yeah, because they're intellectually stimulating you and you're vibing on that level, and that's my partner too. Is he is attracted to individuals who are smart, who are intellectual, who will have conversations that are in depth. So you can imagine our sex life is pretty
Y-
flowing because I'm a person that enjoys having these conversations, and I like to explore and I like to study and I enjoy it. So I can feel you with that.
Yeah, I love the self awareness from it all too. It's there's nothing better when a partner's like, "Hey, I'm saying I'm anxious right now, and I wanted to say something very insecure, but I didn't do it." It's like, "Ooh, okay, let's talk about that, and let's co-regulate together and find out what we need from each other." Because I'm not always communicative. That word, communicate.
Communicative.
I have a lot of conversations in my head without having it outside. So I need to work on that myself. That's the whole like attachment theory. But yes, to your point, Melanie, about the terms and all the different words, though, that's what I love about like podcasting and talking about it because I had all this information and I'm intrigued by all the different terms. And I was like, you know what? I need to talk about this. And that's another reason why I got started on the podcast. Is like I have all this information. I need to stop yelling at my phone or at my TV and just like record it at some point.
No, this is wonderful. This has been awesome. I can't wait to do it again. I mean, I'm sure we could talk for hours on our experiences and all the different dynamics that we could get into. This has been really fun.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation. I feel like we've been talking for a little bit, but then we just like scratched the surface. And I hope the moms out there are getting something. I hope I said something that would help them out because as somebody that dates the moms, it's like the little things you don't think about, and hopefully something I said resonates with somebody.
Yeah, no, I agree. This has been extremely insightful, and we have just dabbled, and there's so many layers to this that we could get into. But thank you so much, Julius, for being here with me today. I really appreciate you, and we'll be talking to you again.
My pleasure, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right, mamas, thank you so much for being here this week as we unboxed the different dynamics of relationships, boundaries, sexuality, and gender identity. I hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful week, and don't forget to live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. Until the next time, sunshine.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Moms Unboxed. If you have a topic or relationship question, connect with me at I am Melanie Caroline. And don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed. May you live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. I'll be chatting with you next Wednesday for another episode. Until the next time, sunshine.